What's up out there, everyone in YouTube world, Facebook world, social media world, the world, wherever you might be watching this from today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Musings with MGL. I'm your host, MGL. As always, click like, share, subscribe, click the bell button if you like what I have to say. And, there we go. And thanks for tuning into your content. So today I'm going to touch on a topic that just hit the wire yesterday, and it's kind of is a follow-up to a topic that I was talking about last week and one that I talked to about a few weeks ago. And this is, I believe, my position is that if there is such thing as a Biden administration, I'm not going to get into the details about the likelihood of that or not. Those are for other people to muse on other videos. And if you get into any sort of topics about that, there's a good chance YouTube might shut you down or Facebook might shut you down because, God forbid, you say something that they disagree with. So I'm not going to get into what's going on with the election and who I think is going to win or what's going to pull out and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are for other people. However, so I'm going to go with the concept of, let's say there is a hypothetical worst case scenario that there is a Biden administration. Well, as I was saying last week, and as I have said before when it comes to these braces, I believe, in my opinion, that if we do in fact have a Joe Biden and a Kamala Harris administration, that you will see stabilization braces become NFA items and essentially illegal without a tax stamp. I believe 100% in my bones that that will happen, okay? As I've said before and as I've personally experienced before, even currently under the Trump administration, there are members of the ATF who want to outlaw these braces. They want these braces to be classified as stocks. They think that they are loopholes in the NFA statute, and they want to make them NFA items. They want to reclassify the braces as stocks and make you have to get a tax stamp in order to have one. And this is something that they can do without Congress, as the way our makeup stands now. It's the administrative state. I don't believe personally you can, because I'm a constitutionalist, and I believe shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. But look, setting aside that concept, what we're dealing with right now in the realm of the administrative bureaucracy and these agencies, the alphabet soups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, previous court rulings, Supreme Court rulings, the ATF can do this. Whether it ultimately holds up under a legal challenge is a different issue. But setting aside all that other stuff about the Second Amendment, right now, if the ATF wanted to, they could change their mind on braces or actually come out with a more specific answer, because as we all know, they've been back and forth on these braces over the years. But they could issue an order, issue a letter, issue an administrative ruling that says these braces are NFA items and you can't have them. Similar to what they did with bump stock, okay? There was no requirement, or there was no law passed federally banning bump stocks. There wasn't. The ATF simply did it with an administrative rule, and all of a sudden bump stocks became illegal. They could do the same thing here with these stabilization braces. All they have to do is come out with an opinion that says these braces are stocks, and therefore if you put them on an AR pistol or an AK pistol, you are now in possession of a short barrel rifle, which requires you to have a tax stamp. It's the same thing that they want to do, as you see in the headline here, on these unfinished receivers. So basically what happened is the NRA did a news alert yesterday. This is the article here. You can just Google it. It's on the NFA website. It's all over Ammo Land, and all the Second Amendment websites are carrying it now. And it's basically one of those call to action style or pay attention to this letters, in which they disclose in here that there was apparently a phone call. This has been reported by Ammo Land, that on November 10th, they did a article in which there was a phone call between the current acting director, Regina Lombardo, who told those in attendance that the anti-gun Biden transition team has reached out to the ATF to get the agency's, quote, top priorities. The item then went on to note, that's the article, that Lombardo told those on the call that her priorities would be pistol braces and 80% lower receivers. Okay, I've said this before. Trust me. ATF wants to ban these braces, or at least part of the ATF. There's a internal fight going on inside the ATF where half the people in there want to ban these braces and make them NFA items, and the other half don't. The only thing, in my opinion, that's been keeping them in check is a Trump Department of Justice, okay? Forget about the bump stocks. I know a lot of people are going to give grief about that, and they're going to jump all over the NRA for that or whatever, but I do believe that as it relates to these braces, that the Trump administration and the Department of Justice wants those to not be NFA items. It's been their position that these are not NFA items, and they've been pushing back on the ATF's desire to do this. That's the only thing that's kept the ATF from just coming right out with a letter that says they're illegal, or making a rule change, making them illegal, or reclassifying them as NFA items. It's the only thing that's been preventing them from doing that is the Trump Department of Justice. When the Trump DOJ goes away, under this hypothetical scenario of a Biden administration, the Biden administration is on the side of the half of the ATF people that don't want these braces, okay? Or they want to do something as it relates to gun control. They know they're not going to get anything through the Congress. Even if, let's say hypothetically, the Georgia seats, the two Georgia seats flip to Democrats, that gives them such a slim majority, and there's not a real appetite in the country right now for something drastic on guns because gun ownership is through the roof. Even a lot of the Democrats who were anti-gun owners because of the riots and the COVID and everything else have all of a sudden become gun owners. So there's not really a huge appetite even amongst the country right now. There hasn't been a mass shooting, go figure, in all this time. So there's not a real call right now for any sort of massive legislation. So I think even if I'm gonna act optimistically here, that even if they were to take over a slim minority in both houses and the president, I'm still not sure they can get through a massive gun change. There'd be a lot of backlash against that. But they can certainly tinker around the edges. And certainly if the Republicans win both seats in Georgia in January, they're going to maintain the Senate. And there's no way they're getting any gun legislation through under that scenario. But they can do these type of things. They can tinker around the edges, and they will do things like that to make it look like they're doing something as it relates to firearms. This wouldn't even require an executive order. Like the ATF could the bureaucracy could just do it. This is what I'm telling you. It wouldn't require an executive order that could be challenged by the Supreme Court at the Supreme Court. It wouldn't require an act of Congress. All it requires is a bureaucratic changing of the rules or a bureaucratic declaration. You could still file a lawsuit against that. You could still take it all the way to the Supreme Court and try and argue that it's an impermissible change by the bureaucracy. And lots of times they have won those lawsuits, and they're certainly going to try it. But this is the one thing, these type of administrative things, this is the one thing that they can do without needing any help from anybody. Joe Biden doesn't even do an executive order. They certainly don't need Congress. And they have been wanting to do this for years now. The bureaucracy at the ATF have been wanting to do this for years, but they haven't been able to. With the Biden administration, I am 100%, if I had any amount of money in the world, I could be wrong, anything's possible, so you always got to put that caveat on there, especially as a lawyer. There's always that whatever percentage, but I am 99.999999999 ad infinitum % confident that if we get a Biden administration for the next 4 years, I would say within 6 months of that administration, you are going to see an announcement by ATF that these braces are no longer allowable unless you have a tax stamp. They're not going to grandfather in braces that you already have. So if anybody thinks that they can run out right now and buy a pistol with a brace on it, and they're going to be grandfathered in and get to be able to keep it, nope, not going to happen. You just saw that with the honey badger. They made it illegal, and they didn't tell people they could keep it. They turned around and sent a letter to those people saying, you better disassemble that thing and send it back to the company and wait for a tax stamp if you want to reassemble it down the road. So they are not going to grandfather these things in. So I personally would not be running out to the store right now to try and buy anything with a stabilization brace on it, because if I was a betting man, you're not going to be able to have that item in the next 6 months or 9 months or whatever, and you're going to have to turn it in or basically become a felon. So I know the gun owners out there, the gun shops out there probably don't want me saying that because they still want people going out and buying these things, but I would not, under any circumstances, go out and buy anything right now with everything still in flux that has one of these braces on it, because I think you're going to end up being a felon in the next 6 months or so, or you're going to have to break it down and send it back to the company or pay $200 for a tax stamp. Now, that's what you want to do. That's fine. If somebody already owns one and they want to keep it for the future, then you're going to have to comply and send in the tax stamp, or you're going to have to disassemble it and get rid of it or sell it or whatever, which you can't even really sell it if it's classified as an NFA item unless you sell it to a title or to somebody else with a tax stamp. So look, read the article, check it out, see what they're saying, but this doesn't come as a surprise to me. I've known that they've been wanting to do this for years, and if they get a Biden administration in there, they're going to give them the go-ahead to do it. So look, my opinion is these things are going to be banned, or not banned, but they're going to be reclassified as stocks, and you're going to need to get a tax stamp for any ones that you want to buy in the future and any that you currently own. So be forewarned that this is probably coming down the pike, and if you want to try and stop it, as I've said before, the only thing you can really do is write your congressman, although, again, there's not much they can do about it because it's not going to be legislative. You need to donate to Second Amendment organizations. There's a bunch of them out there. If you don't like the NFA, there's a whole bunch, the NRA, there's a whole bunch of them out there. So donate to these organizations to try and mount some legal challenges on this. But this isn't even something that writing your congressman is going to make a difference for, because again, it's all through the administrative state, and they don't even need your congressman's permission or knowledge of it, really. They can just do it one day. So keep that in mind. Thanks for watching. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, stay vigilant, whatever. Keep optimism that hopes that something else changes in the near future to make sure that this doesn't happen. But going forward, this is going to be an issue. You all need to keep an eye on it, all right? Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.